So today I want to talk about something, it's frenemies related, it's Ethan related. And no matter what I say or how I express myself, all the comments, this is so manipulative, Trisha's manipulative. I mean, it just is what it is. And like, I'm accepting of that now. So, I'm just accepting of it. But I really do need to say this because I haven't said it. I put up with Ethan purposely triggering me, trying to trigger me on multiple occasions. He likes having that thumbnail of me leaving, right? That's the meme. Even up until the last one, I said, I don't want to walk off. I don't want to end the show, because then the meme is you sitting alone and I'm walked off. You see Trisha leaving, whatever. And even up until the last one, they didn't cut after we ended the show. They cut seconds after when I walked off, which is not what I wanted. But, you know, I always put up with the triggers and I allowed myself to be triggered. And this is beyond, this is not walking on eggshells. It's like, oh, I say one wrong thing. No. This is times where I'm like, don't share the private messages from episode 1, where he shared messages I sent to him, where he shared Moses' private messages, and we ask him on the show not to. Like, there's just not respecting boundaries. And as like, I don't know boundaries well, and I try to set them as best as I can, but that was a boundary. And like, it's him constantly saying no, and pushing. And I allowed it because I thought that was, you know, the entertainment of the show. Ethan has since expressed his uncomfortability with stuff we said about Jewish people, about Tourette's. And I respect that. If, I truly did not know. Obviously, the Jewish thing, he eventually told me one episode, like, you can't keep calling me cheap or something, because it's offensive to put to, and I stopped because, I think a lot of the show was banter back and forth. And I think even myself, I got confused what was banter back and forth and what was just straight up triggering me by bringing up my sexual assault, bringing up my past as a prostitute and stuff like that. When I so clearly said, I don't want to talk about it. The first things that come to mind, obviously, are talking to my mom about my sexual assault on a trip from Disneyland, a trip that my mom's sister and Moses had planned for my birthday. And then we did invite Ethan and Gila to come willingly and graciously, because I enjoyed spending time with them. They're, family, Moses' family, all that stuff, and graciously and wanting to. And on the Disneyland trip, we vlogged for frenemies, again, graciously and wanting to. Moses was the camera guy for the vlog. And, it was great until it wasn't great. So up until the bus, he asked my mom what she thought about my sexual assault regarding this thing that I become lighthearted to and kind of numb to, because for me, I always thought there was power in talking about being assaulted as a prostitute and stuff like that. I always thought there was power in that, because I thought that can't hurt me anymore because I'm talking about it. No one can bring that skeleton up because I'm openly talking about it, as I do with most things when I overshare. I just think no one can bring it up against me if I bring it up first. So I think that's, anyways, taking accountability, whatever. And he said that to my mom on the bus, and then he brought it up again on the frenemies. But after he said the thing on the bus, I got really sick. I can't remember if they showed it in the Disneyland vlog, but I laid down on the bus for a good half hour up until we got to their house. I was so nauseous and so sick because my mother and we had a strain in our relationship when I was younger, around that time, 17 to 19. We didn't talk a whole lot. We did, but obviously she didn't know the extent of stuff, because I would always ask her for money. I would ask her friends for money back home, and my dad and I definitely didn't. So to talk about that time in my life with my parents it's not something that happens. When he asked her about it, it was something that he's like, well, you talk about it on the show, you talk about it on Frenemies, she watches Frenemies, but my mom fast forwards that stuff. She doesn't, it's something that I feel like everyone has to work through, but because I've just started treatment and therapy in 2019, consistently, it's not something that's even been brought up to work through with my family, and it's not even something that I'm comfortable with yet. Another thing that comes to mind is I talked about knowing Robin Williams, and this one really affected me. I think this is when I started to like realize like I can't keep getting triggered for entertainment purposes. Like I did go along with it, right? Like obviously I get triggered, Dr. Drew. I get triggered, Dr. Drew. And again, this isn't walking on eggshells. This is asking like, hey, like, can we like stop talking about things? Now I have been in the wrong so many times on frenemies, you know, lashing out, calling people names, you know. I've said this, I still, to this day, it hurts my heart that I acted that way. I you know, that I allowed myself to get to that level. You know, those were lows that I was like, okay, I need to seek. I'm having therapy, but now I need to seek another level, which is like medication. Like it always propelled me to like do more work on myself. And this included like this, I need to go more into stuff that doesn't make me comfortable when talking to my therapist, because we kind of like glaze over a lot. You know, we talk about childhood, right? That's my big one. But then like my early, you know, adult life, you know, 17 to like 20, you know, that was a lot of stuff that I haven't talked about. But now, because I'm so happy, you know, with Moses and my family and where we're at, like everything feels right. Like I kind of don't want to go back into there. But because we went back into there on frenemies and it was pushed, it almost, I just wasn't ready. The Robin Williams thing, I didn't want to talk about for a number of reasons. I think it's super disrespectful to go into any detail about that. And, you know, maybe I shouldn't have said that I even knew him, but it really brought me back to a place that I didn't want to be. Not even in those particular instances with that person, but just that time in my life. When we were on the bus, you know, I should have said something. The bus was the turning point for me. The bus was the turning point for me. You know, besides anything, like, you know, just not feeling a part of something, right? Like, whatever. Towards the end, Ethan was just like screaming at people, and a lot of people think that's funny. And, you know, a lot of people, and I'm not dictating what's funny, what's not. But for me, the last girl he's like screaming at, it was a girl with like green hair, and he's like, green hair. The girl was not having it. She was on her way to work, and she literally said something like, this is all you guys have to do is just, you know, yell at me, scream at me, whatever, she said, talk to me. And he kept going, and she was clearly just trying not to engage, trying to be like, really, like, she was a female alone by herself in Hollywood, on Hollywood Boulevard, like walking towards Hollywood Boulevard with her bags. Sorry, I don't want to cut. I don't like cuts in videos, but sorry, it's a little burpy. You know, and he did that to a lot of people, and a lot of people, you know, thought it was funny. But this particular girl, I just remember being like, I looked at him in such a different light, and so many people are gonna be like, that's, you know. And you know what, I should have brought all this up, you know, the same way I wish he would have brought up that, like, you know, like talking about his Tourette's or whatever really affected him. Like, I really wish when he mentioned the Jewish thing, like, I really just did stop, because I was like, oh, okay, like, this is, you know what I mean? There was, I think, and the reason we'll never go back to doing frenemies is now it's become too, like, what was like no boundaries, and we just say what we want, and I guess that's like part of the show. And now it's like, oh, well, she talked about my Tourette's and I don't like that, and you know, made Jewish jokes and I don't like that. And it's like stuff that was like, I've like just always done, and it was never in malicious intent or whatever. And same thing with this, like I you know, maybe I should have been more clear, but to me, that what I was surprised it was even left in, because I was like, that's clearly something that's like not okay. And I'm saying all this now because I was like scared it would end. I was scared that it would be called walking on eggshells. I was scared that, you know, you can no longer joke with Trish. You know what I mean? Like, I think I've always been, in every setting, I've always been just overtly open about prostitution and sex work that I've done and sexual assaults. And I made light about it because it gave me the sort of like it doesn't affect me. It's almost like it's not me, right? It's like not who, I don't know that life. So it's like, it's funny, and it becomes like numbing at a certain point. Or I've talked about a guy that like would shoot a gun at my head for like sexual pleasure and stuff like that. Like that was such a scary time, but I look at it as a story of like another person's life. You know what I mean? It's just a funny story, and it's not funny. It's not funny. And I think I have to, this is like my first step in like saying it's not okay to myself to like joke about these things, and like not letting other people, you know, from talking about sexual assault with my mom, that was the first thing. And then being pushed to talk about the Robin Williams thing, when I said so many times, like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I'm not comfortable. In the first episode with Mo, like, there were certain things that were like, don't leave this in, because they were so personal and so private, and they're out there, and now people will just use that and throw it in my face, even though me and Moses have worked past it, you know. I'm not hiding from it. I will talk about, you know, I will talk about it now. It's just something I didn't want out there. And then up until like the last episode, like everyone was like, it's clear Trisha was in a bad mood, but it was a lot of things, from sexualizing my skincare product. Like, you know, I was just like that. I was like, you know, because it's not just my line. I'm okay with sexualizing me or my stuff. And let me just say, I'm not that okay with sexualizing my stuff anymore. The more I like really delve into, me and who I am and what I've been, I don't want to sexualize that anymore. All my music videos of recently have been like covered up. I don't like, I used to like being sexualized because it meant like attention, and it was something like edgy, and oh, that's what, you know, all the girls that are sexualized get the attention and they get desire. And it's like, that was always my MO on social media. And I just don't, I don't want that anymore. Like, I really don't. If you guys watch my channel now, whatever, for years, I go out looking as disgusting as possible. Like, I kind of don't put any effort unless I'm like doing a video, performing, you know, doing something. And even my music stuff has now shifted towards my more he, him side of me that I feel way more comfortable performing in. And then if I do the she, her, it's to perform. It's to perform or perpetuate this character that I don't think I'm really happy being anymore. So I don't like, and it's also not it's not, I'm in partnership with somebody, right? And this person has worked so hard, and they put a lot into it. They put, you know, that this is their creation and stuff. And I've worked with them and tried out stuff that works really well and stuff like that. But I didn't want it to be like sexualized, and like, it was not my intention to put that in there. A lot of people were like, oh, that was on purpose. But I mean, to my knowledge, it wasn't on purpose. And then up on that episode as well, you know, a lot of people were like, okay, Trisha was triggered by Gabby. And not yes and no, but it was really when he really was like, well, do you have herpes? And I've always said from the beginning that if I did have herpes, that was between me and my boyfriend at the time. Like, if I had AIDS, it's between me and my partner, and us two know. So it had nothing to even do with that. So when he was asking those personal questions, like, you know, everyone wants to say, oh, he's so professional and he's so patient with Trish. But it's like, at the same time, like, being asked those questions by a partner, or now he's my employer. So many people think they know the contract when there wasn't even a contract in place, but now he's my employer and he's asking me these questions. But even as a partner, as a friend, as family, like, it was like, you know. And then I was like, I'm trying to think, like, you know, I'm like racking my brain of what people could, you know, bring up. Like, did I ever have cold sores on my lips in videos? I don't think I've had cold sores since I was a kid. Someone will probably find a video that says that. I never took medication for it. And then everyone's like, well, you did have herpes. And it's like, regardless, like, I know my STD health, and he's joked about that too, saying that I've had gonorrhea, because I've seen memes that's like, actually, it wasn't gonorrhea, it was chlamydia, which is true, you know. But it's like, to me, that was banter, and it was accepted because that was our thing. We're just as open. So for him to say, Trisha can say whatever and I can't say anything is insane. Like, those are really, really personal questions and something that I wasn't comfortable with. And for me, it's talking about this stuff now, you know? It's like, it's over, and I feel the sense of relief. It's horrible to keep seeing, if you go to my Instagram right now, say sorry to Ethan, say sorry to Ethan. It's like, I'm not sorry. He shut down my ideas so many times for so many things. Like Fashion Nova, you know, not sponsored, but we were talking about it one episode, and he was just like, I'm against this and fashion. For me, like, I've always liked Fashion Nova because, like, it was affordable. It was stuff I could afford, and it was also in my size. And he was just so aggressive about that. And I think at the time, like, I don't know, I don't think I had a sponsorship with them, but it's like, you know, just like shooting down like the aerial gymnastics, which he compared to in his videos, like, oh, sure, I want to go to the moon, but it's not. It's like, so, you know what I mean? Like, it was constant. Oh, this anti-anxiety notebook thing, which I have so many of these workbooks that I work through. And I was like, we should create one because, you know, he talks about his anxiety and depression, and I talk about my borderline and my schizo. Yeah, and I was like, we should write one, and shot that down, you know? So I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry, like, that I said your segment sucked. Like, I should say, oh, I got burp again, sorry. I should say this too. It's like, not to go back to that because that's not what this video is about, because it's over, it's done. But all of that, you know, like, all of that was like triggers, right? When I asked to the very last episode, like, we need to stop. And he's like, yes, you can go up and leave whenever you want. You know what I mean? Like, up until even that point, he wanted me to do that thing. And I'm like, I just want to end this. And I don't want to look like the crazy one. I don't want to look like the emotional one that can't handle herself, that can't control herself, and just walks off. Like, I want to end this. And he was like, no, I think I asked to end this like 3 times before we ended it, whatever. And I walked off, and they continued rolling. You know, a lot of that stuff, it did come out of like being triggered. Like, at the end of the day, it was like, there's so much more like I want to say now that I can like calmly think and stuff, but I just had to say this because it's not so black and white. People are just like, apologize. I can't believe you. I see you in a different light. And it's like, I'm not saying like this deletes things I said, or this is worse than things I said. Like, I still take accountability, but I'm not okay with just people just glazing over like really serious issues. And mostly I'm not okay with me glazing over these really serious issues. I'm not okay that I didn't stand up for myself more when I should have. You know, these are all things that were pretty recent, you know. And I think which ultimately led to maybe some sort of sabotage of the show. I watched back that clip, and I really am just like, okay, I shot down a segment so that I'm being rude and want to fire employees. Like, I watched that episode where I'm like, we should add another employee because they're busy. Like, you know, I just replay it. And I think, you know, it's really hard and something I have to let go. But it's like, at the end of the day, like, it's something that everyone is just like, Trisha's greedy. Trisha's this. She made fun of Ethan's Tourette's. And I laugh because I'm uncomfortable. It's not funny. But like Tourette's and like being Jewish and all this stuff. And now I'm anti-Semitic. And it's just like, it's really gotten like blown out of proportion. And nobody wants to hear what I say because it's just manipulative or whatever. And it's like, and maybe I don't know. See, now I'm thinking like, I think I'm overthinking too much. Now I'm thinking, well, is that manipulative? But that's just my observation. It's what I just am observing right now, is that like, I can't win no matter what I say. But I really wanted to say this because while I'm not sorry for saying I don't like your segment, you know, and you know what? I am sorry for that. Whatever. I mean, I'm all over the place. Like, I am sorry for that. I am sorry for that. You know what I mean? But there is a double standard at play there. And that's what I'm really trying to say. There's a double standard. And it's just what it is, you know. I don't know. He has a calmer demeanor than me. He has a bigger fan base than me, whatever the case is, you know, or people are just mad that like I'm choosing to end frenemies. But, you know, at the end of the day, that's also a boundary I'm setting for myself, is that I just don't want to go into a place where I already feel defeated, where I already feel uncomfortable, right? When he told me the crew is upset, you were super rude to them, like I couldn't even watch it back at that point because I was like, what did I say? I was so scared of what I said. And then when I saw, I was like, I wasn't, and it got spun in this way. And then he told them that I wanted them fired, and he was telling me stuff that wasn't true about the crew with their involvement and stuff. And I was just like, you know, I don't know. I just really started, sorry, I'm like losing my train of thought. I literally just lost my train of thought right there. Oh, that they wanted, that I was rude. They didn't want to film with me or whatever, or that they should take tomorrow off. Like that really did feel like a gang up, right? Which I had been feeling for some time. You know, I felt, you know, with the bus thing, it's something simple as like, oh, can I, you know, bring my mom and sister? They didn't, and they're like, well, we don't want anyone recognizable, but then people recognize everyone on the bus. Like, you know what I mean? Or even like bringing people off Instagram or something like that. I don't know. It just felt like I really, again, we're kind of going in circles with this. It's not the point. But then when I heard that they didn't want to film, that they were upset and they needed a few days, the crew, you know, then I felt like I'm kind of, I don't want to put myself in that situation where I'm constantly feeling, you know, I don't know. And then they ended up going to do it anyways. A lot of people were like, oh, he agreed to give you a producer. And he did. We had talked and we were totally fine. He agreed to give me a producer. We agreed to do the Rage Room at like 6:30. And then once the episode went out, you know, Ethan cares a lot about comments and what comments say, what that thread says, Reddit or whatever. Like he cares about that. He goes with what the comments say, with what it. So I'm just assuming that the comments were like, Trisha's, I don't know, I'm not sure, because then he texted me late and said, you know, hey, let's not do tomorrow, after saying let's do it, and I agreed. So let's not do tomorrow. Crew's upset, Ian's upset that you were rude about Sam's segment and you were rude to them and they just need a few days. So right then I was just like, oh, okay, like that's how this is, right? Like it's not, I don't get a say. And as far as the producer talent thing goes, just to touch on that again, like there's no contract. Everyone acts like there's a contract. This is what it is. This is what it is. It's just not black and white, which I'm trying to say about this whole thing. Nothing is black and white. You know, I don't know. I'm just like, it's just been a lot. And I'm just trying to tell you where I've been, like my process of all this is, because it's a lot. And it's been a lot, like this stuff, like the thing, like really it did start, the thing on the bus with my mom and my sexual assault and discussing it openly, and then also talking about it on Frenemies, you know, the Robin Williams and my prostitution days, when I said, I don't want to talk about it, just not being, not being respected in that. And up until the last one, just talking about my sexual health history openly, it just, I don't know. None of it felt right. Being sexualized, my skincare being sexualized, you know, none of it felt right. And I admit to my wrongdoings, and I was triggered. And I'm telling you, this whole thing, it was completely blown out of proportion. But in a way, it is a relief that it was. It was a relief that it's ending. Because I did get triggered. I was okay to do the segment. I was triggered of being like talked over. I was triggered when he called me like talent and he's the producer, and then talking about the money thing and how it's changed and all that stuff like that. It's like, I never wanted more money. I never wanted the crew fired. The crew can't be fired because there's no contracts. Frenemies doesn't have employees. There's no contracts. They were H3 employees. Ethan told me that money from Frenemies would go in addition to what they were already getting, then, as they should. I hope they did. I don't know if they got paid extra. I hope they got paid extra for Frenemies. I hope they know now that was what he told me at the beginning, was the 100% of highlights and the 5% go like in addition for their extra hard work on Frenemies. So they couldn't be fired. Ethan's their employer. Frenemies has contracts with nobody. I don't have contracts. There's no contracts, you know, so it's not, at the end of the day, everyone's like, Trisha's unprofessional. Maybe that's the case, but you know, and I know people are like, stop talking about it, whatever, and he's over it. But it's like, this is something that's, it is going to affect, it does affect me. I feel now I've said my piece on it. I did all those videos, like reaction videos, and I maybe shouldn't have filmed my instant reaction because I can't collect myself, you know, and say my points properly because there was just so much false information and against me. And I just thought it was really unfair because I'm not spreading like lies about Ethan, and I'm not trying to paint him as this villain. Like there's clips I can dig up from his old things talking about sexual assault very casually and, you know, all this stuff. Like I could, you know, but the way he brought up my past with, you know, saying bad words towards his family or whatever. I have to go. My family's getting here, but it just sucked that that's how it ended and how he wanted to paint me because, and how one-sided it was and things he left out and mistruths and stuff like that. It just really sucks. And it's okay. You know, it is, like I said, I'm working through it, but I've never been one to like stop telling people how I feel and stop talking about something that is important to me. And I think this is my first step. And whatever show I go on in the future, if I do a podcast interview, if I do a collab video, if I do whatever, to not let people just, and also to not let myself just talk about sexual assault so casually, or, you know, because it's not a casual thing. It's something that affected me whether I understand it or not right now, because I can't go back to that right now. Like, it's something that I need to work through, and I also can't let anyone have that like power, because it's not funny, it's not jokes. This is a different era in 2021. Like, it's just not okay to let other people talk about it or like or have, you know, and I don't think it should be considered walking on eggshells to not talk about that kind of stuff. I don't know. Or walking on eggshells when someone asks you to stop talking about something. The Robin Williams thing really was just like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. And I don't know. It's a huge double standard. It's something that it's like, I'm probably screaming into the abyss where it will get misconstrued or whatever. But if someone does hear me and I you know, it helps in some way, like I don't know. For me, it's helping me. I don't know. I see people that can kind of understand, but I would say I wish it all didn't happen, because the way it went down and the way it got twisted, like that sucks. But I do feel a sense of relief, and I do feel really sad that people are upset the show is ending. And I just wanted to say this because it was something that was weighing on me, and I should have said it. I should have said it to him, but it's also something that I need to say out loud to myself, to the world, that like I won't continue to make light of some really serious issues. So I'm gonna go. My family's downstairs, and I will talk to you guys soon.